All right. Hey friends, back out in the woods today. This will be a little longer video, so I hope you'll bear with me. I wanted to really hit on some salient points here and really talk about those things that are of God and those things that are of men. And if you haven't done so yet, please go down below and hit the like, hit the subscribe, and please, more than anything else, share this video out as far and wide as possible. Really, that's the best way to help me get this message out there and get people thinking. All right? Please do that. Please share this. You just copy and paste the URL into an email, or, do the little connection thing and then say who you want to send it to. More than anything, that helps me to expand and reach as many people as possible. Anyway, in the previous long video, I had talked a lot about critical thinking, not just accepting what you're being told, having an open mind, and of course, covering cognitive dissonance. I know that that's a big word, but there isn't anything else out there that really can take its place. And if there was a simpler word, I'd use it. I know, having been a university professor and done a lot of different things, been around the world, went after and achieved an education. Folks oftentimes start to think differently when they've had that kind of an exposure, sometimes not in a good way. But if anything, it has made me more grounded to be really the regular guy that I have always been. At least I think so. It's something I strive for. Or some people might say, that folks can tell just by the way that I dress that I am, some kind of Minnesota-born hillbilly, even though I spent a lot of my adult life moving from military installation to military installation, and then spending a big chunk of my life up in Alaska. Hence, that's why my younger daughter still lives there with her husband, and my grandson is there, so I try to get up there and spend as much time as possible with them. And in a way, a lot of these things that I'm putting down on video and on paper and electronically with my website and my Facebook page, things like that, I'm doing for my grandson so that he can look at it and hopefully have the same kind of benefit that others have gotten from it. I am going to be reading from some notes again today, but I wanted to kind of cover that. And like I said, I'm just a regular guy. I never went to divinity school. I was never a minister, those kinds of things. I'm just somebody like you who has reached a point where I know I know in my gut and in my heart, my mind, and my soul that we're being lied to constantly. I'm sick of it. And I want to make sure that you're able to recognize it and work your way through it. Whether it's in religion or politics or media or whatever, everybody's got an agenda. They've got this narrative that they're trying to create in order to get you to think like they think. And, you know, for the most part, that's just not possible. But they're going to try. And in a religious sense, again, like I said before, I find it the most pernicious. I like the word vomitous. Makes me want to puke. Because of the things that they're trying to foist upon us. Anyway. And through these videos, you're going to see a lot of the things that I believe come out. Having studied, of course, many sects of Christianity, and I consider myself a Christian. But like Thomas Jefferson said, I consider myself a Christian in the ways that Christ himself would want. And that is in adherence to his doctrines and in preference, not elimination, but in preference to all others. And in that I include all of the Christian sects that are out there these days. In fact, if you want to read a really, really good book, Thomas Jefferson did a consolidation of the New Testament and parts of the Old, and it's called the Jefferson Bible. And it is published with narratives in there by a friend of mine, another professor, but a very, very good man. His name is Dr. Judd Patton, Patton, Judd, Judd. And so you'll either be able to find it underneath his name or you'll be able to find it underneath the title, The Jefferson Bible. But anyway, his goal was to cut out the foofara that is often connected to, writings around the New Testament. And Jefferson did that in order to hand a condensed version of Christ's teachings out to the Native Americans and the African slaves who had been brought over so that they could understand Christ's mission as well. Anyway, let me get into the things that I wanted to talk about. Again, we were talking about leaders and the religious and political folks have always used religion to control a populace and will often set themselves up as the arbiters of what a religion represents and set expectations on the populace that they are seeking to control. Once those in power have become very adept, they will begin to design or even rewrite the words in the books that they want people to believe in, They will change the rituals, and they will add music for specific purposes, which create fealty, adherence, followership in the belief system, and add to their supposed divine right to rule the people. And I know that that was something back in, well, really many places around the world where leaders would claim the religious right of divine rule, which meant God put me in this place in order to lead. But what a lot of them didn't also attend to was that they were put in that position in order to enhance the lives of the people that they were supposed to be helping. All right? They weren't there just to benefit from the, well, let's face it, slave labor of the people. They were supposed to be making everyone's lives better. And the sad truth is that most people will follow like sheep. In my first book that I published a few years ago, and it's a novel. It's from a series of novels called The Powers of the Earth. I don't know if you've read it. Some of my students have. In my first novel, A More Perfect Union, so of course you can look that up online, A More Perfect Union by Thomas A. Myers, if you're interested in looking at it. Anyway, I call people who blindly follow sheeple. And it is amazing how that term has caught on in the years since I first published that novel. But people often follow blindly, especially oftentimes if it's a brutal shepherd. Some of those brutal shepherds need dogs to keep the sheeple in line and moving in the direction predetermined by the leadership, even to their own demise. Breaking free of this control can be satisfying, can be so satisfying that the individual never wants to engage in a form of belief ever again. Oftentimes they become an atheist, which often morphs into a system of belief in and of itself. These people will eschew, means get rid of, logic, in their righteous fear of coming under the control of yet another belief system. So, is religion about control? Yes. And no. Religion is supposed to be about self-control. Remember the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But it has morphed and been manipulated by societies to fit their own needs and desires rather than those of God. The answer to the question about external control and many belief systems are, and therefore you are being controlled, which means that you are in a belief system that is posing as a religion. You may take some comfort from that control or see it as a good thing, especially as it pertains to children. And if that is the case, it is up for you to decide whether or not you stay or whether you leave. That is free will. Sorry, if you can hear my stomach growling, I haven't eaten anything yet today. I wanted to get out here and knock out this video. Anyway, however, if anyone tells you that you will be punished either here on earth or in the hereafter, in whatever form you believe heaven exists as, if you disagree with their creed, then it's time to run away now, because literally you're in a cult. Now I want you to think about this verse for a second. And it comes from 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Again, think about that. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. I think that's true. I think that if you are inside of an actual religious practice that grants you the ability to think for yourself, determine what is real and what is not, you are free. You can use those critical thinking skills, as we have talked about and we'll continue to go into. And that's what makes you free. If you're not allowed to think for yourself, you're not free. And so the corollary to that passage is that where there is purposeful control, the Spirit of the Lord is not there. Now think about that for a minute, because the corollary must be true. Otherwise the original passage could not be true. Because if God is there, you are free. If God is not there, you are not free. All right? Think about that for a second as your brain sorts through the religious organizations that you have some knowledge of. Could they pass that simple test? If not, is it really a place of worship? Or is it a business selling you a product? A product that is supposed to make you feel good, but in reality has negligible value or impact. That's called a placebo. Something that just kind of makes you feel good for the short time that you're there. Going back to our discussion before, where I like to go back to different movies that have happened out there, because movies tell things about our society, whether they understand that they're doing it or not. And I like this line from The Matrix. The first one, only try to remember the truth. What truth? There is no spoon. I like that one. Because they're in this created existence. And oftentimes, that's what happens when you're inside of a religious entity as one of the quote-unquote followers. They have created something that works for them, that gets you to put money in that tray every weekend. Very sad. So think about this. Nothing can control an individual very long if they have the knowledge to find a way to escape that control. Each of us must find our own escape. Here's something that was written by Walt Whitman, the great writer. Re-examine all that you have been told at school or in church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul. So if you sit there and you're listening to some priest or minister or whatever religious leadership that you're sitting there, and they say something, you're going, No, that ain't right. Time to get out. The yogi Vasudev, who's got a lot of cool sayings, look him up online, says, the sign of intelligence is that you are constantly wondering. Idiots are always dead sure of every damn thing that they are doing in their lives. And boy, isn't that true. Siddhartha Gautama said, as a corollary to this, do not look for sanctuary in anyone except yourself. Here's an old African proverb. A wise man never knows all. Only a fool knows everything. Gandhi followed that with many people, especially ignorant people, want to punish you for speaking the truth, for being correct, for being you. Never apologize for being correct or for being years ahead of your time. If you're right and you know it, speak your mind, even if you are a minority of one. The truth is still the truth. Yeah. And George Orwell in 1984. And if you haven't read it yet, then you, in my opinion, are not fully educated. Being a minority of thought, even a minority of one, does not make you mad. There is truth and there is untruth. And if you cling to the truth, even against the whole world, you are not insane. And so, control of other people is a behavior ingrained in all of us. And it takes hard work to overcome that desire. It is harder yet to cast off the shackles of those who would make you a slave, bound the mind or the hand. And that's from my book of God and Man. Galileo stated, I do not feel obligated to believe that the same God who has endowed us with sense, reason, and intellect has intended for us to forego their use. Now, I don't know if you know this, Galileo said this at the time when he was being persecuted by the Catholic Church for saying that the world is round, it is not flat, and that the Earth and the other planets revolve around the sun. He was pounded for that. And he, of course, was right. But that didn't much matter, did it? Be right. Be right no matter what. And you know how to get right. You've got to question everything. God doesn't want blind followership. No. If you're blindly following something, then you are not following God. This next little sentence here by Nikola Tesla is probably one of my favorites. And that is, every living being is an engine geared to the wheelwork of the universe, though seemingly affected only by its immediate surroundings, the sphere of external influence extends to infinite distance. I'll be saying some other things about Tesla in the future, who, you know, in his young life, very much like Einstein, gave up on religion because of the religious practices that were out there, and he listened to the things that were being said, and he just couldn't, he couldn't make those things coalesce in his own mind. He would not allow for cognitive dissonance to happen. And so at first, like Einstein, Tesla became an atheist. He said, obviously, there's something wrong with the world. There's something wrong with these ideas. But later on, the greater Tesla engaged the cosmos, Einstein too for that matter. They came to the realization that that there was no way that the current configuration of the cosmos was accidental. They calculated it out, both of them, to a great extent, and came to the conclusion that there's no way that this all happened by happenstance. And if that was true, if it didn't just occur, then it had to be purposefully designed. And if it was purposefully designed, there had to be a designer. Think about that. All right, my friends, I will chat with you later on our next video. Please, let's talk down in the comments. I will always follow up if I have the time to do so, to engage in those conversations. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.